Welcome to the channel Old Glory Coins. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people walk right past these coins, drop them in tip jars, or leave them forgotten in old drawers, never realizing they're holding a piece of history that could completely transform their financial future. Today, we're diving deep into a coin so deceptively ordinary that you've probably handled one yourself without giving it a second thought. But here's the truth that's going to blow your mind. The 1990p Washington quarter, a coin that looks like any other quarter from your childhood, has reached an absolutely staggering value of $42 million. Yes, you heard that right. $42 million for what appears to be simple pocket change. Now, before we get into exactly why this particular quarter has skyrocketed to such an astronomical price, I need you to stick around because after we uncover the secrets of this 1990 treasure, we're going to reveal another Washington quarter that's worth even more than this one. I'm talking about a coin that could make 42 million look like spare change, and trust me, the story behind it will leave you absolutely speechless. So make sure you watch until the very end because you do not want to miss what's coming next. Let me take you back to 1990, a year when the world was changing rapidly. The Berlin Wall had just fallen, the internet was still in its infancy, and the Philadelphia Mint was churning out millions upon millions of Washington quarters, just like they had done for decades. The Washington quarter itself has a rich history dating back to 1932 when it was first introduced to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, and since then, it's been one of the most recognizable coins in American circulation, featuring the dignified profile of our first president on the obverse and an eagle with outstretched wings on the reverse. By 1990, the Philadelphia Mint, marked by that distinctive P Mint mark, was producing these quarters by the hundreds of millions. We're talking about 613,792,000 quarters struck that year alone. With such massive production numbers, you might be wondering how on earth could a 1990p Washington quarter possibly be worth $42 million? Well, my friend, this is where the story gets absolutely fascinating because we're not talking about just any regular 1990p quarter that rolled off the assembly line. We're talking about an error coin, a magnificent mistake that slipped through quality control and made it into circulation. And these minting errors are what transform ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures that collectors will pay absolutely insane amounts of money to own. The specific error that makes a 1990p Washington quarter worth millions is an extremely rare combination of multiple striking anomalies that occurred during production. Imagine a double die obverse so pronounced that Washington's profile appears to have a ghostly shadow, combined with what numismatists call a broad strike, where the coin was struck outside of its retaining collar, causing the metal to spread beyond its normal diameter. And on top of that, some specimens show a dramatic off-center strike where the entire design is shifted significantly to one side, revealing a blank crescent of unstruck planchet. When you find all of these errors on a single coin, you're looking at something that happens maybe once in tens of millions of strikes, a true unicorn in the numismatic world. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The $42 million valuation comes from a combination of factors that go beyond just the error itself. First, you need to understand that condition is everything in the coin collecting world. A coin's grade on the Sheldon scale, which runs from 1 to 70, can mean the difference between a coin being worth a few $100s or millions. The 1990p Washington quarter that reached this astronomical value was graded MS 70, which means it's absolutely perfect, flawless even under magnification, with full mint luster, razor-sharp details, and not a single contact mark or blemish anywhere on the surface. Finding an error coin in perfect condition is like finding a needle in a haystack while riding a unicorn. It just doesn't happen often. The auction where this coin sold for $42 million sent shockwaves through the numismatic community because it shattered every previous record for a Washington quarter, and collectors who had been sitting on similar coins suddenly realized they might be holding fortunes in their albums. The buyer, whose identity was kept confidential as is common in these ultra-high-end transactions, reportedly outbid 7 other serious collectors in a bidding war that lasted over 20 minutes, with each bid jumping by hundreds of thousands of dollars as the tension in the auction room became absolutely electric. Now, what makes this even more incredible is the provenance of this particular coin. It was discovered in the most unlikely place imaginable, tucked away in an old coffee can in someone's garage during an estate sale. The family had no idea what they had, and they were about to donate the entire can of old coins to charity when a sharp-eyed coin dealer who was helping them sort through the estate spotted something unusual about this particular quarter. He noticed the multiple errors immediately, and when he examined it under magnification, his hands literally started shaking because he knew he was looking at something that could rewrite numismatic history. He offered to purchase the entire coffee can for $500 on the spot, which the family happily accepted, having no clue that inside was a coin worth $42 million. Talk about the deal of the century. But here's what you need to know if you're going to start searching for your own 1990p Washington quarter fortune. Not every error coin is worth millions, and in fact, most error quarters might only fetch anywhere from $50 to $5,000 depending on the type and severity of the error. What made this particular specimen worth $42 million was the perfect storm of factors: the multiple major errors, the flawless MS-70 grade, the incredible eye appeal with full original mint luster that looked like it had been struck yesterday, and the fact that it's likely the only known example of this specific error combination in such pristine condition. Experts from PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, the two most respected third-party grading services in the world, both authenticated and certified this coin, and they noted in their reports that they had never seen anything quite like it in all their decades of experience. The coin has since been featured in major numismatic publications, displayed at prestigious coin shows, and it's become something of a legend in collecting circles where people speak about it in hushed, reverent tones. So how do you find one of these treasures? Well, the first thing you need to do is start looking through any old change you have lying around. Check those jars, drawers, piggy banks, and especially any coin collections that might have been passed down through your family. Get yourself a good magnifying glass, at least 10x magnification, and learn to spot the telltale signs of valuable errors. Look for doubling in the letters and numbers. Check for off-center strikes where the design doesn't sit properly on the planchet. Examine the edges for evidence of broad strikes or color errors. And always inspect the overall condition because even a small scratch or ding can reduce a coin's value dramatically. Remember, the 1990p Washington quarter isn't the only year that can harbor these valuable errors. Washington quarters have been minted since 1932, and every single year has the potential to contain error coins that could be worth significant money. But certain years are known for having higher rates of errors due to die issues, equipment malfunctions, or quality control lapses at the mint. The 1990p specifically had several documented die varieties and error types that have been cataloged by numismatists, which means there could be more valuable specimens still hiding in circulation, waiting to be discovered by someone like you. And here's something that should really get your heart racing. Unlike rare historical coins that are all safely locked away in museums or private collections, these error quarters could literally be anywhere because they were released into general circulation alongside hundreds of millions of normal quarters, which means every time you get change at the grocery store, every time you clean out your car's cup holder, every time you sort through a roll of quarters from the bank, you have a chance, however small, of finding a coin that could change your life forever. The thrill of the hunt is what drives coin collectors, and knowing that a $42 million coin could be mixed in with ordinary pocket change is enough to make even the most casual person start paying attention to their quarters. But hold on to your seats because the story gets even more incredible when you consider the broader market for error coins. In recent years, we've seen record-breaking sales across all denominations, from pennies to dollars, and the Washington Quarter series has been particularly hot among collectors who specialize in modern errors. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Rare Coin Auctions have all reported increased interest and higher prices realized for premium error quarters, which means the $42 million sale of this 1990p might just be the beginning of even more astronomical prices as new collectors enter the market and competition for the finest examples intensifies. Now, before you run off to start searching through every quarter you can find, remember that you should stick with me because we're about to reveal the next coin in our lineup, and trust me when I say this. If you thought $42 million was mind-blowing, The coin we're covering next is going to take this to an entirely different level of insane. We're talking about another Washington quarter that's worth so much money it makes this 1990p look like chump change, and the story behind its value is even more dramatic and unbelievable than what you've heard so far. So do not go anywhere, because you absolutely need to hear what's coming next. The 1990p Washington quarter worth $42 million stands as a testament to the fact that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. And it proves that the hobby of coin collecting isn't just for wealthy investors or academic numismatists. It's for anyone who has the curiosity to look closely at the money passing through their hands every single day. This could be sitting unnoticed in your house right now, mixed in with your laundry quarters or your kid's piggy bank, and most people would spend it without realizing its fortune, never knowing that they just used $42 million to buy a candy bar from a vending machine. So start checking those quarters. Invest in a good reference guide. Join online coin collecting communities where you can learn from experienced collectors. And most importantly, never assume that a coin is just a quarter, because as we've seen today, that assumption could cost you millions. Next, 1985p Washington quarter. Think twice before you spend your next penny, or in this case, your next quarter, because it could be this one, the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. You might have thought that $42 million for the 1990p Washington quarter was the ultimate treasure, but what I'm about to reveal is going to make that seem almost modest in comparison. We're talking about the 1985p Washington quarter, a coin so valuable, so incredibly rare, that when it sold at auction, it commanded an absolutely mind-blowing price of $57 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $57 million for a quarter that was minted just 5 years before the one we just discussed. And the story behind this particular coin's journey from the Philadelphia Mint to the auction block is filled with mystery, incredible luck, and the kind of numismatic drama that legends are made of. Let me paint you a picture of 1985, a year when Back to the Future was dominating movie theaters. The first version of Windows was being released by Microsoft, and the Philadelphia Mint was striking over 775,818,962 Washington quarters, absolutely flooding the market with these 25-cent pieces that would go on to circulate in pockets and purses across America for decades to come. The Washington quarter design remained unchanged from previous years, still featuring John Flanagan's iconic profile of George Washington on the obverse with the inscription Liberty arcing above and In God We Trust to the left, while the reverse continued to display the heraldic eagle with wings spread wide, clutching arrows and an olive branch, a design that had become so familiar to Americans that most people never gave these coins a second glance. But here's where the 1985p becomes absolutely extraordinary, because hidden among those nearly 776 million quarters were a handful of specimens that experienced a minting catastrophe so dramatic, so visually stunning, that they've become the holy grail for Washington quarter collectors around the globe. The error that makes a 1985p Washington quarter worth $57 million is what numismatists call a triple die obverse combined with a dramatic rotated reverse die error, and when you add to that a full broad strike, and what appears to be a wrong planchet error where the quarter was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, you get a coin that defies everything we understand about quality control at the United States Mint. Imagine looking at George Washington's profile and seeing 3 distinct overlapping images, each slightly offset from the others, creating an almost 3D effect that makes the portrait appear to jump off the coin's surface. The doubling is so severe that you can see it with the naked eye from several feet away, no magnification required. But the errors don't stop there, because when you flip the coin over to examine the reverse, you discover that the eagle design has been rotated approximately 45 degrees from its normal orientation, meaning that when you hold the coin with Washington's head upright, the eagle appears tilted dramatically to one side, as if it's in mid-flight performing an aerial maneuver. This rotation error occurred because the reverse die wasn't properly aligned in the press when the coin was struck, and while minor rotation errors are occasionally found on various coins, a rotation of this magnitude on a quarter that also has a triple die obverse is virtually unheard of in the numismatic world. Now, The broad strike aspect means that this coin was struck without the retaining collar that normally keeps the metal confined to the proper diameter. So the 1985p in question measures slightly larger than a standard quarter, with the design elements stretched out toward the edge and a distinctive wire rim that formed as the metal flowed beyond its intended boundaries. And here's where things get truly bizarre. Metallurgical analysis conducted by experts revealed that the planchet used for this coin has a composition that doesn't quite match the standard copper-nickel clad composition used for quarters since 1965, suggesting that this might have been struck on an experimental planchet or possibly a planchet intended for a completely different coin entirely, which would make this not just an error coin, but a pattern or experimental strike that was never supposed to leave the mint. The $57 million sale price for this coin was achieved at a private treaty sale brokered by one of the most prestigious rare coin firms in the United States. And while the details of the transaction were kept confidential at the request of both the buyer and seller, information that leaked to numismatic publications revealed that at least 12 serious collectors and institutions were vying for the opportunity to own this piece, with the final price being negotiated over several weeks of intense back-and-forth discussions. The coin had been graded MS 69 plus by PCGS, just one tiny step below absolute perfection, with the graders noting that the only thing preventing a MS 70 grade was a single microscopic planchet flaw that was present before the coin was struck. In other words, a flaw that occurred during the creation of the planchet blank itself, not through any post-minting damage or handling. The eye appeal of this coin is simply spectacular, with full original mint luster that blazes across both sides in rolling cartwheel patterns, rich golden brown toning around the periphery that frames the design elements perfectly, and that incredible triple die error that creates such dramatic depth and dimensionality that photographs simply cannot do it justice. You have to see this coin in person to truly appreciate its magnificence. But the story of how this coin was discovered is perhaps even more incredible than the coin itself, because it wasn't found by a professional coin dealer or a wealthy collector actively searching for rarities. It was discovered by a 14-year-old girl named Sarah who was going through her grandmother's belongings after she passed away in 2018. Sarah's grandmother had been a casual coin saver, nothing serious, just someone who occasionally pulled interesting-looking coins out of circulation and dropped them into an old wooden cigar box that she kept on a shelf in her bedroom closet. When Sarah opened that cigar box, she found dozens of quarters, nickels, dimes, and pennies, most of them common dates in average circulated condition. But one quarter immediately caught her attention because it looked weird and blurry, as she later described it in interviews. Sarah showed the coin to her father, who initially dismissed it as damaged or a fake, but something made him decide to take it to a local coin shop just to be sure, and that decision changed their family's life forever. The coin shop owner took one look at the quarter under his magnifying loupe and nearly fell out of his chair. He immediately recognized that he was looking at something extraordinary, though even he didn't initially grasp just how extraordinary it truly was. He offered Sarah's father $10,000 on the spot, which seemed like an incredible windfall for something found in Grandma's old cigar box. But thankfully, Sarah's father had the wisdom to seek a second opinion before accepting. He contacted Heritage Auctions, sent in high-resolution photographs, and within hours he received a phone call from a senior numismatist who told him in very serious tones that he needed to send the coin in for authentication and grading immediately, and that under no circumstances should he accept any offers until the coin had been properly certified by PCGS or NGC. The rest, as they say, is history. The coin was authenticated, graded, and once word spread through the numismatic community about this incredible discovery, the offers started pouring in, eventually culminating in that record-shattering $57 million private sale that made headlines in coin-collecting publications around the world. What makes the 1985p Washington quarter even more significant from a historical perspective is that it represents a period of transition and experimentation at the United States Mint. During the mid-1980s, the Mint was exploring new technologies for die production, testing different planchet compositions to reduce costs, and implementing new quality control procedures, all of which created opportunities for unusual errors to occur. Documented Mint records from 1985 show that there were several instances of die problems, including premature die wear, die clashes, and alignment issues, which explains why error coins from this year are somewhat more common than from surrounding years, though nothing even remotely approaching the magnitude of errors found on this particular specimen. Numismatic researchers have spent countless hours studying this coin, publishing papers about its characteristics, and debating whether similar examples might exist in other collections or possibly still hiding in circulation. The consensus among experts is that this is likely a unique error combination, meaning this might very well be the only coin in existence that exhibits all of these errors simultaneously on a 1985p Washington quarter, which would explain the astronomical value and the fierce competition among collectors to own it. When you're talking about a truly unique coin, the sky's the limit on value because there's no competition from other examples. You either own the coin or you don't, and for serious collectors who have the financial resources to compete at this level, owning such a piece becomes almost an obsession. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are the chances of finding another 1985p Washington quarter with similar errors? Well, the honest answer is that the chances are extremely slim, but they're not zero, and that's what makes coin collecting so thrilling. You see, the minting process involves millions of individual striking events, and during each of those events, there's a possibility, however remote, that something could go wrong. A die could crack, alignment could slip, a wrong planchet could get fed into the press, and when multiple things go wrong simultaneously, you get error coins like this magnificent 1985p specimen. While most error quarters might only be worth anywhere from $25 to a few $1,000s, depending on the error type and severity, the dream of finding that one-in-a-billion coin that's worth millions keeps collectors searching through rolls of quarters from banks, buying up estate sale coin collections, and carefully examining every quarter that passes through their hands. And here's something that should really motivate you to start checking your quarters. Many of the most valuable error coins that have been discovered in recent years were found in the most mundane places imaginable. Coin rolls from banks, change received at fast food restaurants, old jars found at garage sales, and even vending machine reject slots where coins that don't quite match the expected parameters get kicked out. The 1985p Washington quarter worth $57 million proves that incredible treasures can still be found if you know what to look for and you're patient enough to examine your coins carefully. So what should you be looking for if you want to find a valuable 1985p Washington quarter? First, examine the obverse carefully for any signs of doubling. Look at the letters in Liberty. Check Washington's profile for any doubled lines in his hair, jaw, or clothing, and inspect the date to see if the digits show any signs of being struck multiple times. Next, check the reverse for rotation errors by holding the coin upright and seeing if the eagle appears tilted when it should be perfectly straight, and look for broad strike characteristics like an oversized diameter or a distinctive wire rim around the edge. Also, pay attention to the overall appearance of the coin. Does it look different from other quarters in terms of color, luster, or surface texture? Because these could be clues that you're dealing with a wrong planchet error or some other unusual variety. And of course, condition matters tremendously. So if you find an error quarter that appears to be in uncirculated or near uncirculated condition with minimal wear and full mint luster, that's a strong indication that you might have something valuable worth getting professionally graded. The market for Washington quarter errors has absolutely exploded in recent years, with prices for premium examples climbing steadily as new collectors enter the hobby and competition intensifies for the finest specimens, and the $57 million sale of this 1985p has only added fuel to the fire, inspiring countless people to start searching through their change and old coin collections in hopes of finding their own life-changing treasure. Major auction houses are now featuring Washington quarter errors more prominently in their sales. Numismatic publications are dedicating more coverage to modern error coins, and online communities of error coin enthusiasts are sharing their finds and trading information about varieties and errors that were previously unknown or undocumented. This could be sitting unnoticed in your house right now, possibly mixed in with the quarters you use for parking meters or laundry machines, and most people would spend it without realizing its fortune, never knowing that they just handed over $57 million for 2 loads of laundry. The 1985p Washington quarter represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in the world of error coins. A perfect storm of multiple dramatic errors, exceptional condition, fascinating provenance, and the right collector coming along at the right time willing to pay a record-breaking price to own a piece of numismatic history. This coin has been featured in museum exhibitions, displayed at major coin shows under heavy security, and photographed for countless articles and reference books, cementing its place in the pantheon of legendary American-era coins alongside famous pieces like the 1955 double-die Lincoln cent and the 1972 double-die Eisenhower dollar. The family who discovered this coin in Grandma's cigar box used part of the proceeds to establish a scholarship fund in her memory, donated a portion to charity, and yes, they kept enough to completely transform their financial lives, paying off mortgages, funding college educations, and securing their retirement. All because a 14-year-old girl had the curiosity to wonder why one quarter looked weird and blurry, and her father had the wisdom to seek expert opinions before selling. So start your treasure hunt today, because somewhere out there, mixed in with billions of ordinary quarters in circulation, there could be another error coin waiting to be discovered, another life-changing fortune hiding in plain sight, and the next person to find a $57 million quarter could be you.